Afternoon. We're going to call the meeting to order at 12:17. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Roll call, Mr. Jose Zuniga, I'm present. Judge Mercurio Martinez, he is not here at this time. Mr. Edward Ochoa.
Present.
Is present. Mr. Lalo Uribe.
Present.
And Ms. Oli Varela, she had called to let us know that she wasn't going to be able to attend today's meeting. Item number 4 in our agenda is the approval of the minutes for December the 1st, 2021. All board members received copies of the minutes. At this time, I'm going to entertain a motion to accept as presented.
Motion to accept. Second.
We have a motion to accept by Mr. Uribe, a second by Mr. Ochoa. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries to accept as presented. Citizen comments, we're going to leave the citizen comments open for the remainder of the meeting. We'll close them at the end. Any citizen comments at this time? None? Okay, thank you. Action items, discussion and possible action to define TERS number 2, board roles and responsibilities, and any other matters, incidents thereto. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was some discussion when, for the board, as far as the matters for the board and responsibilities. We're not too sure, I don't think they were presented to city council, and that might be the next step that we need to take. I know Raleigh, and we had some conversations regarding some documents that were processed and presented to the board previously.
Yeah, so.
Go ahead, yeah, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Board members, thank you all very much. Rolando Ortiz for the record with the Killam Development. Miriam, David, Arnold, thank you all for being here. So the last meeting, which you all just approved, right, was the heavy lifting where you all approved the finance plan and the development agreement that actually went to the city because they could not approve it without your approval, right? We provided a binder to you all that has all the agreements in there, right? There's several of them. They're not, I mean, it seems overwhelming, but they're really not, right? So we also provided you the ordinance that passed the TERS. We've given you the resolution that was passed by the city of Laredo. We've also provided the development agreement that the Charco, which is the entity that's developing this area, has with the city. We've provided the participation agreements that go between the city and the county and the city and the college, where they're also agreeing to participate at a 40% level of that tax increment, as the city is doing. And then we also have a donation agreement that the Coves property is working with the Laredo College on. And then we also have the agreement we have with the county. So you'll have all that in there. In addition to that, you'll see we have a master plan in the package. We also have, we've actually submitted 2 preliminary plats. One was for the college. It's 1.8 acres, which we're required to do by our donation agreement with them. That should hopefully be closed before the end of the year. And we've, last night, presented about 50 lots that P&Z has given the preliminary plat to. And so I think that the project will be moving forward properly. And we're required, I think the board's required to meet twice a year, right? So we probably will have another update for the board in December. And because really, I mean, we're following the plan and there's not going to be any other major issues there. So, that's kind of the idea. And for us, we're looking at this because obviously we do this every day, or with a city, we're entitling property. Our agreement in the development agreement says we got to get city approval, right? And so we're using the plating process, the entitlement process, the construction process that is basically the approvals we're getting from the city all the way till the very end, right? Once the city then gives us our final approvals, we can record the plat. We will prepare a package at that point that says these were the costs. It'll be a nice, neat little package, just like you used to, Edward, with the contract, the draw request, the lien releases, so that it's a nice little tight package. Obviously, the city will get that, and the board will get that as well. So then, obviously, there's nothing funded until there's increment in there, and then those will probably kind of be just stacked like in a shelf for a while, and then once the money starts to come in, then that money can start being reimbursed. So the city is the holder of the purse. They will be getting the city will be allocating their own 40% to the TERS fund. And then the county and the college, which the county collects for the college, will then provide it into a city fund. So they'll have the purse there.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, going back to the action item number 6, maybe for the board's approval, maybe we can go ahead and submit some of the roles and responsibilities that were put together by the department when the TERS was formed. We can present it to you and send them to you for approval, and just to define and have a document that defines the responsibilities of the board.
Okay. Yeah, that was my next question. Actually, I was going to ask David about it, but that'll be great.
Do they need to be presented to City Council for approval? Yes, probably not.
Well, I was looking up what's been done for other ones. It's kind of a mixed bag of what's been done, but on some of our committees, the bylaws have been proposed by the committees, and then they've gone to council for approval. And so we could go with that, or, some of them are just more informal. But I guess my recommendation would be to have it be a recommendation from you to the council for the adoption of the bylaws.
Are the roles and responsibilities in the bylaws, or are we going to adopt something separate?
Yeah, that would be the intent of the bylaws. It would kind of set out the rules and regulations, logistic stuff like attendance and things like that, quorum requirements. Some of these things are going to be covered by state law, though. So we'll do what we can, but to the extent that there's state law or something on the books, that's going to control.
And I think also, Mr. Chairman, to provide the board that opportunity to say when exactly they get involved with the reimbursement process and what that's going to look like when the developer comes and presents what's been developed, what's in the TIF, how the board is responsible for deciding where that money's going to go, or what decisions are going to be made on behalf of the board. So I think that's also in the same vein of this item, to define what exactly that will look like.
Then we'll leave the roles and responsibilities pending for the next meeting. Once we reviewed, once you send them to the board and they're reviewed, we'll vote on that.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz, and thank you for the binder. It's got all the information that we need. It's very helpful, so thank you, guys. Action item number 7, discussion with possible action regarding the selection of third-party firm to manage TERS matters and other matters, incidents thereto. I think on this one, I don't know if I'm well informed, but I believe the city was gonna manage after all.
Yes, according to the agreement, the city was gonna be the entity managing the TERS. There is an amount allocated for the administrative fees of $300,000. And it is my understanding that as per the agreement, the city will be managing the TERS. fund.
questions, comments? Nope. Okay. Presentation items, item number 8, presentation of semi-annual project status report for Coves at Woodfield Development Project. I believe that's the binder that you brought us.
Yes, sir.
Oli?
Yes, sir, I kind of, Rolando Ortiz for the record again. First of all, let me introduce our team as well, right? Of course, we have Radcliffe Killam here, who's principal in Charco. We have Justin Heather, who helps us on our legal side, and then we have Phil Jean, who's our financial analyst, so. But yes, sir, so I kind of jumped the gun earlier talking about the binder, which we just felt that it'd be a good idea that everybody has all the documents that kind of control this TERS. And to Miriam's point, we'll be very participative in helping put the agendas together and making sure that they have all the necessary information that they need in order to administer the funds as well. So fortunately, it's a process that anybody has to go through as far as getting the property entitled, approved by P&Z. So, I mean, there's a lot of checks and balances there. And you have to submit a letter of credit, which is part of the submittal, which you'll see in the development agreement. And so anyway, I think together we can work through this thing and make it work for everybody.
Any questions from the board? Okay.
I mean, I guess you mentioned the plats, so you've already got 2 plats that have been submitted, right?
We do have 2 plats that have been submitted, one recently, as recent as last night. As I mentioned, the Laredo College plat, which is in the TERS program itself. We have a deadline on that, so we've submitted that for preliminary plat. Hopefully, we'll get final plat by mid-October, and so we can take care of our business with the college. And then the other one was about 40 some odd acres, I'm sorry, about 48 to 50 lots that we're able to get on the ground relatively quickly so that things can start going vertical. And so that is kind of where we're at today. We are working on another several large phases that will probably come in at the same time, close to 500 lots. And that, we're in the process of getting them shored up, designed, so that we can submit the different plats at trying to do it at the same time. And then our plan is also obviously to then go into start designing future phases and making sure that we just keep that momentum going, right, so we don't have a lull.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Ortiz.
And I think the last item is let's make sure we set up a date for maybe mid-December, and we can come do another, and if we have to meet before that, we can definitely do that, but at least the second annual information meeting we can definitely do in mid-December.
What date, what day is preferable?
You tell us. Kind of a,
I think the last couple of meetings that we had, they've been on a Friday. I don't know if that's preferable to everybody else. I mean, it works for me,
It
but
works for me too.
Fridays are fine, yeah.
mid-December is either, well, the 16th is a Friday. I don't know if you want something after that, or that's
I think that if the 15th is a Friday, I think that works.
the 15th, well,
Yeah,
15th is a
absolutely.
Thursday, 16th is Friday, so either one,
Okay.
15 or 16, whatever
The Friday, if
works
it's
for
the
everybody.
16th, the
Fine
Friday
with that.
works. Yeah. whatever that Friday
You
is.
said mid-December, so
No, I
I'm
think
stabbing
we're-
right in the middle.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So Friday, the 16th,
I'm too old to be skiing during those months.
proposed for the meeting.
December 16th is a Friday, if that works for everybody. I don't know,
Yeah.
holidays are the week after, so I'm sure everybody will be out of pocket. Either the 9th or 16th are both Fridays. So,
I'm fine with that. Everybody wanted to see.
there we go. Bringing the big guns now.
Orlando Navarro, Planning Director for City of Laredo. Mr. Chairman, I know that this is a new TERS process that we're trying to go through. I just want to offer that if you would like, what our office can do is as we get plats coming through, we can forward that to the Economic Development Department, whether in video or we can get the presentation sent to, so if you ever want to see any updates of what's going on, we could have that available at their office so that you could at any time watch the video or do that. I mean, we could do that through our office, and that's not an issue, but that just helps kind of establish a process, so we, like to help out where we
That'd be
can.
appreciated. so
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
So that we're up to date. Thank you. So we have the 9th or the 16th,
I think whichever works better for you all. We'll make
Fine with
ourselves
either.
available.
You know, either one works for me. I'm just saying,
I'll propose the 9th just because
It's,
the
yeah,
16th is
16th
closer to the holidays.
Fine.
So if everybody's okay, we'll make a motion to have our next meeting December the 9th at noon, same place. Everybody in favor?
Motion to,
Motion, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Uribe, second by Mr. Ochoa. Everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Everybody against?
And Mr. Chairman, if I may go back to item number 6 under action items, can the board consider a motion to have the economic development staff draft a set of bylaws and responsibilities for the board to present to you at the next meeting?
Okay.
Just for the record.
So the roles and responsibilities are not a part of the bylaws now, which is why there's an action item to include those, right?
To include them and present them as a whole, bylaws and roles of the board and responsibilities. To further present them to city council after the board approves and reviews.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Steve Landine for the record, Assistant City Manager. I just wanted to, just as a point of order, if we're going to bring this topic back up, I think we need to, a motion to bring it back up for discussion, just to follow the rules. And before you entertain a motion to,
So we'll bring a motion to bring back item number
number 6.
6.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So then the motion, or the action that's going to be taken is to
Entertain.
bring it back on the 9th to include it in the bylaws for the roles and
For
responsibilities to be
the
included. in-
economic development to bring their proposal for,
Okay, yep, so I will motion in that favor, if that's what's needed.
with, yeah, that's what's needed, Mr. Uribe.
Okay.
Just wanted to, once you have a second, if I could just add to your discussion.
So I motioned,
okay, so the motion is
we'll need a second for
for
discussion.
the economic development to bring to the board the roles and responsibilities for the board on the case of the tiers. We have a motion by Mr. Uribe, and I'll
Second.
second that. Everybody in favor?
Discussion,
Oh, I'm sorry, open for discussion?
point from us being, from the city of Laredo, being that there's 3 entities involved in this TERS, there's some roles and responsibilities of each party as well. I know that the contract stipulates certain things that we must abide by. However, it's good to have the bylaws and also to put in writing the roles and responsibilities as well. And that's the spirit of what this is all about.
And then that will be brought back on the 9th?
On the 9th, to present to you all, and then after that, we'll take it to the city council.
Okay. Very good.
With those additions, do we have a motion?
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Uribe,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Ochoa. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everybody against? Motion carries.
And I'm not sure, Mr. Chairman, and again, I apologize for getting here late. That's not who I am, but it was who I am today, so I take full responsibility for that. I typically try to get to places earlier than the time it starts. If I could just touch on 7 real quick, but we need to bring it back.
Okay, we'll bring motion, I'll make a motion to bring item number 7 back to the table. Can we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Uribe, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Everybody against? Motion carries. Go ahead, Mr. Lundy.
On this particular item, staff and I were discussing the selection of a third-party firm only due to the fact that since there are 3 entities involved to manage the matters of. And so in discussion with that, been talking to Miriam about it as our Economic Development Director. And I just wanted to make sure that we understood that in the contract, it says that the deposits are made to the city. And so the city's been designated as a managing party when it comes to this. The reason that we placed this, or we asked this to be part of the discussion is due to the fact that the contract in itself, again, it evolved from what was initially proposed, and it changed, and of course, you know that I left and came back, but I've been watching from a distance. So the amount of funding allocated to manage it over the term of the TERS, in all reality, doesn't cover the cost for us to be looking at it. I understand that the contract is signed and it's been approved. However, administratively, we were looking and discussing that. And so, Miriam, do you want to add to that discussion if the chair allows?
Some of the discussion that we had regarding that item was precisely that when we were reviewing the agreement, we realized that the agreement indicated that the city was going to be the entity that was going to be managing the fund. And like Mr. Landin said, there has been some discussion as to what could be the possible next action items that we could review as a city and as a department to really allocate and identify how much of a financial impact that could have, considering all the departments that are involved in managing this type of funds and projects. At this point, I'm not sure, Mr. Assistant City Manager, if this is something that we could discuss as to reevaluating and identifying a financial impact from when this agreement was originally,
So is the, excuse me, is the intent to, the way that the item is written, to select a third-party firm to manage the TERS instead of the city? Because I know in the original bylaws, the city was going to be the
Managing.
the
Yes, sir.
depository or the managing entity.
Correct. That was the spirit of the agreement, right, to have the city do it, everybody deposit to the city, and then the city go out forward. And we have another TERS that we do manage, TERS number 1 for the city, but it's just one entity. It's one entity. This in itself brings 3 entities to the table and funnels everything to the city. Now, I recognize and fully respect the negotiations that occurred prior to this getting adopted. And for some reason, I guess they didn't do, and I'm going to say this very bluntly, a true financial impact on what it would cost to manage it. And so $300,000 over the TERS, according to the contract as it's written, over the term of the whole TERS, doesn't even cover costs. So just being forth and open, I just don't, I don't think that they thought through it well and properly to be fair to the managing entity that was charged with it in accordance with this contract. I'm not here to renegotiate, don't think that, because I'm coming in, you know, obviously, many of y'all know, I just started here in the city for my second tour, August 1st. I'm just looking at it in a practical manner. Certain things were changed, and obviously, the city manager at the time felt it was good, um, and things changed. And ultimately, it just wasn't analyzed properly.
We're gonna open the floor for comments and discussions.
Yeah.
Mr. Cruz? Sure.
So I was gonna, before Cliff, let's kind of take a step back a little bit, right? So the management of it is the actual incremental cost, right? I mean, because everything else that goes with it, we already, the city already does, which is the plating process, the P and Z, one-stop shop, and all those are fee-driven, right? You have to submit a fee for all that stuff as a developer. And so at the end of the day, I mean, we're gonna prepare a package that will go to the city, which will probably be Ramon, to make sure that, well, because at the end of the day, they're gonna make sure that everything is, you know, you have a 8-inch gate valve, you have a water line, you have a sewer line, you got it ready to open up the subdivision. And then it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we give you a package that shows we got all the city final approvals, we got all the information that, from the lien releases, and we've already cut checks, and everything's paid for, and then that goes to you all. So what the city does, Assistant City Manager, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Is y'all are going to get your 40%, put it in an account. The college and the county will get their 40% and send it to you all and put it in an account. And that's really the role of that administrative part, because everything else is already there. Orly has offered that when we submit plats, he would submit it to the Economic Development Group so that they have, because again, that process is already happening. So that's my 2 cents. I'll let Cliff.
Yeah, we kind of beat me to the punch there. I mean, Cliff Killam, for the record, President of Killam Development. I appreciate you all being here, and I'm excited that we're moving things forward. And, you know, just on this matter, I think as Rolly just accurately described, a lot of these processes are already in place. They're sort of the normal course of what the city does in doing business and processing property and so forth, for getting entitled and so forth. So sort of the incremental step within that is, and it's something for you all, I guess, to consider is, what are those additional responsibilities, at least from my perspective, and not to say that it's fully comprehensive, but what I would imagine is it's setting up the agendas, making sure, checking with everyone that that still works out, and then collecting those funds. I guess it's, you know, wiring over the funds to an account, and I think it's pretty straightforward. And then, you know, then when it comes to the actual reimbursements, we would come and say, you know, this is the work that we've done, this is the investment we've done, this is the increment that's been captured. That's going to be captured through the tax assessor's office. So we're going to see that increment, and it's just a matter of knowing that that's been done, and then getting the applicable work that's been done for water, sewer, infrastructure, et cetera, and reimbursing that specific amount of funds. So I would argue or put forward to you all that I think it's pretty straightforward, and if there's any way that we can be helpful in that, I'm not necessarily saying that something should or shouldn't be done. I'm just, I want to suggest that in terms of what I see, at least as those responsibilities, I think it's very a narrow set of functions, and it's for the TERS board to decide. But at least from our perspective, a lot of it is already kind of embedded within the process, and the city already has a lot of these functions, done, And so a lot of that's handled quite well. So it's really just this extra step of, having the meetings, demonstrating the work and the increment, and then in collecting those funds, which is, I think, fairly straightforward. I would imagine that each entity is gonna, obviously be responsible for that and handle that in a very straightforward manner, I would imagine. So I think it's pretty simple process.
Chief, do you mind if I ask what the thought process is with city management regarding?
Yes. Thank you for asking. When we discussed, obviously, there's been a high turnover in the city manager's office. I think the whole community knows that. And what was agreed upon in this document really evolved over different managers over a different period of time to what was settled. And how it was settled, ultimately now there's a new manager in our office and me as well. And when we're starting to get into the agreement, we're starting to see and analyze that this does impact our operations as a city. And ultimately, yes, it's as simple as everybody depositing, but then there's also other language. It talks about bonding and other things associated with this TERS. And so ultimately, and I need your knowledge, because as Rosario was removed from it, I left and I went and joined the county judge's office, and then I'm back, and I'm just at first glance, I'm like, okay, so this evolved, obviously. I'm not gonna give you an opinion on how I feel of the agreement, because that's not, it's no here nor there. Ultimately, this is what we have to work with, and everybody agreed to it and signed with it and the whole 9 yards. We're charged with now managing it. And it's true, Mr. Killam, that everything funnels to the city, and then the city decides, but then there's mechanisms of bonding, and then who's gonna bond. And literally, I'm reading and talking to staff about the city's bonding and stuff. So there's some other mechanisms. Correct me, educate me. That's what I'm here for, to be educated.
Sure. So I mean, I think that the decision to bond is something that is ultimately a city council decision. The TERS board can make a recommendation for that, but quite frankly, I don't really foresee that even being on the table for another 7 to 10 years. So it's not while that may be something to consider at a certain point in time. It takes time to have enough tax revenue in order to even justify that. And then even at that point in time, it's discretionary. So it could be something that happens, it could be something that doesn't happen, but we won't even be in a position, I think, to even consider that probably for another decade. So I think in the meantime, it's pretty, I mean, while you certainly bring up some valid and good points and things for consideration, I think in sort of the near to medium term, it's probably not something that can be even considered at the moment. It'll take some time to have enough activity to even just justify something like that.
Okay. Well, that satisfies some of our concerns, because at the end of the day, it's a discussion, and that's what we're here for, right? And keep in mind, again, I'm gonna go back, there's been a big turnover and things changed. And now we're charged with managing it. I'm gonna be working directly with you all, and it's my pleasure and honor to do that. I just wanted to make sure that we do things correctly, and even if I'm just planting the seed with this agenda item, which is probably more like what I'm doing when I ask staff to put that here, Because down the road, there will be some of these mechanisms that will be used. There will be other entities getting involved in this. And ultimately, the costs associated are going to outweigh what was inked and signed into.
Sure, and I mean, I think, in addition, I would assume that some of those, if, say in 10 years from now, if there was a decision to do bonding, some of those costs that are going to be involved with that would be absorbed in the actual financing cost as well. So, but you certainly bring up some valid, good points, and but I think in the near, in my view, at least in the near to medium term, it's going to be relatively kind of straightforward and not any kind of additional financing or anything of those matters at the moment.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chief, do you see, sorry, Mr. City Manager, do you see the need to bring this back later to discuss, or do you want to maybe meet with city staff and management to come up with a
I
proposal?
thank you for that question. I think, as Mr. Killam is stating, this isn't something that they're looking at in the immediate. I think ultimately for now, I can take that back to the city manager and discuss that, and then I would be ready to either report back to you all in the forms of another agenda item in the future if necessary. If not, it'll just fall off until we see that there's a need to discuss that topic. I'm looking down the road when I start reading this document, and with staff, we started looking at the responsibilities, and it's a little bit different from the city's perspective, and the other entities are just depositing it over to us, and then so we're a little bit different. So thanks for the question. We'll stay in touch with you all, but I'll report it.
Okay. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, any other comments, discussion on item number 7? If not, we're gonna close discussion on that item. Once again, let's go to the approval for the next meeting. Yes, sir?
Can I make a request?
Of course, yes.
On just the, if it was possible for I guess the bylaws, I know we're not directly subject to that, but we are participating, that if it would be possible to get a sample of that prior to the meeting as well.
We don't mind sharing it, yes. No
Great, thank
problem.
you, that's all, thank you.
It might even, Mr. Chair, it might even be healthy to have everybody talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah, I think, Miriam, can you share that with Mr. Killen once it's available?
We'll draft and we'll make sure that our department sends the draft to everyone involved and
And then even before voting, we can have some item for discussion within the same session. Okay, so once again, next semi-annual meeting, we had discussed December the 9th, which is Friday at noon, same place.
I only mentioned Friday because I think that's been our last 2 meetings. I'm not recommending it. To me, it doesn't matter.
Mr. Uribe recommended
No.
Friday. I'll make a motion to have the meeting Friday the 9th, December the 9th, same place, same time.
I'll
We can have a
second that.
second.
I'll second
Mr.
that.
Uribe, a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Everybody against?
And Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry that we're going back and forth, but can we bring back item number 7? I just want to add a comment.
Okay.
Motion to bring back item number 7.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
I just wanted to add to Mr. Uribe's question as far as what was the thought process regarding this particular item. In conversations with management as well, and although we understand that the processes are pretty much established, We did, check how the other tours that we have where there's only one entity involved, how this particular tour's work was gonna be impacted as far as all the departments on the administrative side, not necessarily the building and the permits and the planning and zoning, how it was gonna, having a true understanding on the associated costs. Because for our, the behind the scenes and the administration of this type of projects, it involves not only economic development department, it's legal, it's our consultant, is, the taxing office and the finance office. So I just wanted to add that to that particular item as far as what was the background on this particular item, that I understand it might be coming up in future meetings depending on how this, develops. But I just wanted to make sure that I added that to Mr. Landin's comments.
Thank you.
And to Mr. Landin's point, I think it's appropriate, I guess, that we have this discussion or conversation, because if there is ever any skepticism, I guess, that, perhaps maybe, we have evolved since I believe this was drafted, and so if there's ever any concerns on anybody's side, I think this is the appropriate forum that we bring them up and discuss them, and everybody walk away from these meetings comfortable with everybody's role and responsibility. So I'm glad that we're bringing it up, and if we need to bring it up again, we will, and hopefully at the next time we will have the other members present that they can chime in as well. But if there's anything that we can do, at least on the county side or as a group together, let us know. We're willing to come to the plate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any citizen comments at this time before we close them? No citizen comments. We're gonna close item number 5 for citizen comments. Any other comments?
No.
Floor open for discussion and comments? Nothing? If not, I make a motion to adjourn. If we can have a second.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
All right.
Everybody against? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.